Hey Glampers, if you saw our Christmas video, we put Timbren springs on the truck to see how it would ride with the camper, and it did amazing. Now it's time to do the same for the rig. So today we are putting Timbren springs on our rig, and I've already started putting them together. I'm going to show you how to build one of them, but this is what they're going to look like. Basically it just goes right over the U-bolts on top of the rig and bolts right down on the U-bolt. So the tools we're going to need 9/16 sockets, because all the bolts that come with the Timbren spring to put them together are 9/16. We got two sets of short ones and then a long one. They're all 9/16. Now it'll vary for your rig, but my rig's U-bolts take a 3/4 inch socket to get those bolts off. And then I've got a torque wrench here. I went on the Dexter's website to find out what the torque specs were so I can torque them down. Okay, so what all comes with the Timbren spring? So first off, you're gonna have this plate. This is the plate that everything is attached to. And this, as you can see, it's got these 4 sets of holes right here on the outside, slotted holes. Those will go over your U-bolts. You're gonna have the spring itself. This is a mounting plate for the spring. And then there's a 1/2 inch spacer that will be under the spring. Now, I've built all these ahead, but I did one without the spacer because I want to see how much space it actually has. When I measured, we had 6 inches of gap between the spring and the frame. The ones that have the spacer in it, you can see the spacer is right here. The ones that have the spacer in it are 5 3/4 inch, which leaves me a 1/4 inch gap. So my concern is, does our camper even squat when I fill it with water? I don't know. So, but we're gonna find out. But my fear is that it'll be bouncy. I don't want it to be bouncing worse. I want it to absorb that shock. So let's put this together as what we're gonna do. All right, so the first step will be taking the shock and the large washer. The large washer is going down inside that shock, and we're going to use the flat side down. Set the spacer on here, set this on here. Then you have the bolt with another washer. They're going to come up from the bottom. Like so. Now the interesting part is I'm going to turn this sideways, getting the nut down there. So what I found is I'll take my 9/16 and a socket extension. I'm going to put the nut down here. I'm going to reach my finger up inside the hole to hold that nut. Turn it a little bit sideways, get that on the nut or the bolt, and we're started. Perfect. Now it's just a matter of tightening this thing up. And there's no torque specs on the instructions for these bolts that put the springs together, so I'm just getting them as tight as I can. I need a 9/16 deep well, actually, for down in here. That way I can finish tightening it all the way. So, there you go. Okay, so I'm tight. I'm going to get it as tight as I can. There we go. That's half the battle. Then basically this sits on sideways like so on these 2 holes here. We're going to take our smaller bolts. Take one of the 2 washers off. It's going to come up from the bottom. It's going to go on. We're going to take our washer, flat side down. Now here's something else I've found, that with this up there, you can't get the nut in, so you got to kind of lower this a little bit just to get it started. And once you get it started, you're good for this side. We'll do the other side the same way. All right, so one of the issues now with tightening these bolts to this bracket, you can't get a socket on here, so I have to use a box wrench. I have a box wrench, but if you use the round end, once it gets tight, you can't get it off. So you have to use the open box end. So we are going to get started on that. And once again, just as tight as you can just get it yourself. And there you have it. Timbren spring is built. The only thing left to do is get them put on the suspension. Before I install these, we did have a conversation with Timbren because we couldn't find anything for RVs on their website. It was all for vehicles. So they said they actually have a prototype and ready to go, but it's not for sale yet. So we are actually the first ones to try this on our rig for Timbren. So we're hoping, if it works like it did on the truck, it'll be fantastic. But we just don't know. We did have somebody tell us that they were afraid that instead of it absorbing shock, it would create more bounce, and that's not what we want. We're gonna get them installed, then we're gonna take it around the block, and we got some really rough roads where we live, so we're gonna check them out that way too. So, all right, so we're under the rig, of course, and this is where we're gonna install them. So I gotta remove the 4 U-bolts. These are my U-bolts. Got 4 nuts on top. This plate comes off. Then the new plate goes on with the Timbren spring, and we use the same nuts and washers just to reinstall. That's really how simple it is. So we are going to get to that right now. This one's like tight because like it was cross-threaded or something. This one's coming off. All right, so this is the one without the spacer. It fits in there pretty easy. My question is, do I try to get the one with the spacer in? And once I get it down over that nut, it's only going to leave me 1/4 of an inch of play. I'm going to just take the side I'm working on, raise it up just a little using my jacks. Not taking the wheels off of the ground, but okay. And that still gives us our gap. My 3/4 inch socket is not fitting on because of the width of this. So I'm using just an adjustable wrench, so which means I can't torque it, which means I am putting it as tight as I can humanly get it.
the last one.
Hold that. It might be enough.
Two of them, Lincoln.
Okay, keep going on the rear.
Huh?
Keep going with the rear. Oh, I'm so close. Okay, now just when you come back down, I got to make sure that it goes in. So go ahead and retract the rear. That's good right there for now. Hey guys, we're going to interrupt this video because out of my discomfort for not having a torque wrench on those nuts, I went out and got these kind of deals right here that would attach to my torque wrench so I could torque all of those nuts. Didn't video it, but we did get them torqued, and the torque spec I gave earlier of 100 plus foot-pounds was wrong. It was 50 foot-pounds, and I did contact Dexter through email to verify that. So just wanted to give you that real quick tip update before the rest of the video. And now it's time for the after install drive test. We'll have a before and after videos so you can see what it looked like before, what it looked like after. We're going to hitch up and hit the road. All right, so we just did I don't know, maybe a 7 or 8 mile loop with a lot of back roads that are rough roads because of semis that use those roads. Hopped on the freeway, just a big loop. Just me, it felt different. I don't know, but it just felt like it rode different, better, stronger, less bounce to it. It felt like what the truck felt like before, but even more. So we're gonna just have to continue monitoring it. One thing we know is the camera we had inside the rig didn't fall down this time. It was on a suction cup. On the first run, without those, it was so bouncy, it knocked it off. Okay, so with everything that we've got on this rig, including the Timbren springs on this truck, our MoreRide pen box, we have the MoreRide CRE 3000, CRE 3000 that came with the rig when we bought it, and now adding these to it, I really think we've made this a much more stable ride. And really what we're after is longevity. We don't want our rig to break prematurely. And a lot of things that's been on my mind is you've all seen rigs that have had their suspension, the springs, flat, just flattened out, and they won't curve. There's no curve to them. And this is what this is going to help. It's going to pretty much eliminate that possibility. So the jury's still out on if it is going to do what we hope it does for the rig, but this first drive was a good indication. I think it's a thumbs up. So if you guys have anything you want to ask, put them in the comments about this. We'll do the best we can. As we use it, we'll let you know, keep you updating you. But until next video, happy glamping.